This story would begin several years after the events of Super. You could see Goku looking for Vegeta to train. How strange, I do not find Vegeta anywhere. He usually comes to these places to train. Goku thought, which would stop the flight. I will train alone. Maybe Vegeta found a more suitable place to do it. Goku would be training when suddenly he realizes a powerful presence that would have reached Earth. That presence seems to be a deity, Goku said. The Saiyans still did not know that Vegeta was training with Beelzebub. Meanwhile, in the temple of Beerus, we can see that Whis would retire since his vacations would begin after 300 years. You could see the destructive god walking through the temple. The cat god would take advantage of Whis had gone to see the objects that the angel kept there. I guess they will not be such important things. Even so, I see that he kept many things around here. The destructive god would be watching. He would be surprised to see that there was a jar with a strange potion. Beelzebub would have the suspicion that it was one of the most valuable objects in the universes. Whis, that what I think it Whis? Beelzebub thought? What Beelzebub was observing was a jar which had a liquid that through a spell could revive the dead. Suddenly, a strong power would impact the temple, making everything tremble there. It was Vegeta who was training. "Hey you, be more careful," Beelzebub said. "I have told you that there are very valuable artifacts here." Vegeta would look seriously and continue training. "You should keep better. I will not take charge if something breaks from there. These Saiyans are greedy for little and break that valuable potion of the angels." Beelzebub would be thinking of giving a lesson to the prince. A plan would be happening to the destructive god. For his part on Earth, we can see the angel Wish arriving. What was Wish about? Goku said. He knew that presence. Goku would fly quickly. For his part, Wish would have planned to eat something at Bulma's house before starting his holidays. This was how the hours would pass? The angel had eaten with Bulma all afternoon. Wish would leave him several gifts as compensation for the food. "Goodbye, Uncle Wish," said the little Trunks. The angel would be about to leave, but he would stay waiting a few minutes. At that time, Goku would arrive. "Mr. Wish, I finally find it. I'm glad you waited for me." "They are Goku. What a surprise. But I was not waiting for you," the angel said. Goku would be surprised. "I was going to ask him if we could train." "It's impossible," Wish said. "Right now, I'm waiting for Grand Priest to confirm my holidays. He's on his way." Goku could not believe that Grand Priest was about to arrive on Earth. "You can ask Beelzebub. He was training with Vegeta right now." Goku would be surprised that Vegeta did not tell me that he was training with Beelzebub. That's why I couldn't find it around here. If I stay a long time there, I could even surpass myself, Goku thought. "He usually goes on," the angel said, "since Beelzebub agrees to train him because Vegeta brings him food prepared by Bulma." How cunning was Vegeta, Goku thought. At that moment, a strong light would arrive. It was Grand Priest who would confirm Wish's holidays. "I thank you, Great Priest," Wish exclaimed. Goku would be surprised to see the Great Priest. The Saiyan would approach and ask him if he could train him. Wish would be surprised. "More respect, Son Goku. It's about the Supreme Pontiff. You can't address yourself that way. Practically no one has had the privilege of being trained by Grand Priest himself." "I'm sorry," Goku said. "No problem," Grand Priest said. "I know Goku, and I know that he was so impulsive, even with Zen Osama himself. Anyway, I don't think I should intervene, since my holidays have begun," Wish said. "That's right," Grand Priest exclaimed. "You can already enjoy your holidays." That's how Wish would leave the planet.
It's the first time I see him around here, Goku said. I usually come often. I'm millions and millions of years old. I know practically every planet in this universe. Goku would be surprised. As for his consultation on training, it would not be an inconvenience, unless I am too busy. Zen Osama was very rigorous, and lately I have many pending matters. Goku would be sorry. Besides, my training was very hard. Not everyone can stand it. You should be at your best, Grand Priest exclaimed. Goku would be thinking, I know a place here called the Room of Time. There I could train hard and go out with my maximum potential. In that way, be prepared for a training with you, Goku said. Grand Priest would be surprised. A Room of Time? Do you have one here on Earth? The Great Priest asked, surprised. That's right, Goku said. I thought you knew. The Room of Time has been here for thousands of years. Grand Priest could not believe it. That's how the Great Priest asked Goku to take him to the temple to know the Room of Time on Earth. Goku would agree, with great pleasure. Both would go there. On the other hand, we can see Gohan, who was somewhat discouraged, since he would know that Goku and Vegeta were at a very high level. I should have trained more, Gohan said. I cannot stay with my arms crossed. It was how Gohan had thought a curious training plan, a plan that seemed crazy. A smile would be drawn on the face of the Saiyan. Again in the temple of Beerus, we can see the destructive god, which would already have the lesson that it would give to the prince in mind. I bet that if I revived the ancient god Karmaru, I would give a good beating to the Saiyans, Beerus thought. The destructive god smiled while calling Vegeta. Something happened? The prince asked. I was thinking seriously about the possibility of reviving an ancient god who lived on Earth many years ago. I know that the Saiyans like to fight with powerful subjects. Vegeta would be surprised. What do you mean by an ancient god? The Earth is more than 100 million years old. Do you think that during all that time there have not been more powerful subjects there? I do not know. I have barely been there for a couple of years. Beerus would take the pasma of the angels. With this little jar, we can revive anyone who has died. I recently found out that Whis had one saved here. Remember that this is going to be a secret. Vegeta would be enthusiastic about Beerus' plan. The only ones that can bring to life are the dragon spheres. You still do not know all the things that the angels and gods possess that are beyond your understanding. Anyway, the prince would not trust Beerus' words very much. The idea of reviving a dead man seems crazy to me, but if it was true, I would like to fight him and cut him into pieces. I knew you said that. The Saiyans are very stubborn, and they trust each other too much. Both would stay walking around the place where Beerus hid several of his artifacts. Suddenly, the bell would start to ring. It was Bulma who would communicate with Vegeta. Vegeta would be scared. You said you would come in a week. It's been 2 months since you've been there. I said, annoyed Bulma. Vegeta would have no choice but to return to Earth since he did not want to argue with his wife. This is how Beerus continued with his plan to revive that being. The destructive god laughed since he would be confident that this being would beat the Saiyans. Again on Earth, we see that the prince would arrive, and there Bulma was waiting for him. Vegeta's wife would be getting ready. Where are you going, woman? Vegeta asked. You have to accompany me to a very important place. It depends where it is. A very important magazine wants to take me as a model, since I am the flamboyant president of the Capsule Corporation.
What do you say? You know I don't like those things, Vegeta said, angry. Bulma would reproach him. You are going to train for several months. I also have important projects. This was a decision made. This was how Bulma would go. Do whatever you want, woman. I must continue training. The prince would be thinking, if what Beerus said was true, I must train with all my strength, although it seems crazy to me that he revives a subject who died many years ago.
Anyway, I'll keep training, Vegeta said, which would enter the training capsule. Upon entering, he would notice that the capsule was destroyed. Vegeta would get angry. What the hell happened here? This was because the little Trunks would have destroyed it with a power in there. The prince would scold little Trunks. "I did not give my power," Trunks said. "I'm sorry, Dad." This was how Vegeta would go to train in the courtyard of the Capsule Corporation. On the other hand, we can see a strange subject flying at high speed. He was wearing a black suit and a mask. Thousands of people would be surprised to see him fly. He would be causing some damage, but for now he had not hurt anyone. Even so, he would arouse the attention of the Z Warriors, who would have also seen him. Although his speed was surprising, they could not know who he was. There were days when this subject was meditating in the skies. For this reason, we can see Piccolo, Krillin, and Master Roshi together. "Do you know anything about that subject?" Piccolo asked. "I saw him on many occasions. It seems that he was looking for something." "We must be attentive," Krillin said. "I wanted to see his face, but he seemed to wear a mask," Piccolo said. "It must be a kind of ghost," Master Roshi said. At that moment, Yamcha would appear. "What are you talking about, guys? You seem to be scared." "There was a strange subject flying over the planet several days ago." Yamcha would be surprised. "They refer to the masked subject? All the news are talking about him." "Do not stand there and go looking for him," Master Roshi said. "If you work in a group, it will be easier to know who the hell wis." "It's true, Master," Krillin said. "I am willing to investigate who that guy wis." Just as all the Z Warriors would go looking for him, they would all fly in different directions. I did not know what to tell them to get out of here. "Now I can see my magazines quietly," Master Roshi exclaimed. On the other hand, we can see Broly, in which he was lying in the forest. No one would know that the Saiyan was on the ground, which seemed to be unconscious. Meanwhile, in the Temple of Dende, we can see Goku and Grand Priest arriving. Dende would greet Goku and be surprised to see that Grand Priest was next to him. Dende would cordially greet the Great Priest. "Formalities are not necessary," Grand Priest said. "I have not seen a supreme deity around these places for a long time. I had come for other reasons, but I found Son Goku. I recognized him immediately for being one of the participants in the Tournament of Power. I am glad that now at least he knows about our existence, Mr. Grand Priest. By the way, he brings it here." Mr. Son Goku assured me that here was a room of time. I did not think it was real, but as soon as I arrived, I knew it immediately. "I am surprised," Grand Priest exclaimed. "This was Great Priest. You can come in to see if you want." "I will accompany you, Mr. Grand Priest," Goku said. "After all, I will train there, so that when I leave, I can receive your training." "I'm not sure yet if you will receive my training," Grand Priest said. "As I have told you, you must be 100%. "I can assure you that you will be," Dende said. "In that room, his power increases considerably since he was only dedicated to training." This was how Grand Priest and Goku would enter the Room of Time. I am really surprised. There are very few rooms of time scattered throughout the universes. "The planet Earth was very interesting," the Great Priest exclaimed. "I asked you to stay," Goku said, "but I know that you are someone very busy. I have thought about it, and I think I will accept the deal." Goku would be surprised. "Then he will train me?" "That's right, but as I said, for me to train you, you must leave here with your maximum potential." "That's right. Don't worry," Goku said. "But it won't be that simple," Grand Priest said. "What do you mean?" "You had the audacity to ask me for a training. It was brave of you. I'm sure you can handle the first phase of my training." Goku would not understand. "First phase?" asked the Saiyan. Grand Priest with a click would create several powers which would seal Goku. The Saiyan would be surprised. "Those powers weigh more than you can imagine," Grand Priest said. Goku would observe Grand Priest, who would withdraw from the site. The Great Priest, before leaving, would seal the door with the same power that sealed Goku. Grand Priest said goodbye to Dende and returned to the temple of Zen-O-Sama. On the other side, we can see number 18 looking out the window. The android would not know what to do. That Krellin was obsessed with that masked guy. Today he also left early to go look for him, number 18 thought. The news would be heard on television. The masked guy was still a mystery. People are moved. Number 18 would turn off the television and go through the forests to collect some fruits and vegetables. By the way, he would go out to clear his mind. The android would spend several hours walking. There was a special fruit that he always collected, but he would be surprised to see that the tree of that fruit was empty. Number 18 would get angry. Suddenly, he would see a basket that seemed to have hundreds of those. As he walked a little more, he would realize that a subject seemed to be next to them. It was Beal, and he was still unconscious there. "I know this guy," said 18. "He was one of the Saiyans. I did not think he lived here." "It doesn't matter. I will take the basket with these delicious fruits and I will leave." As he took the basket, the android would feel that someone would take it from his arm. 18 would be surprised. When he turned around, he would realize that it was Broly. He would be surprised by the speed of the Saiyan. "You are stealing my food. Did they not teach you good manners to you?" Broly said. "I thought you were dead. As you did not move, I just took it and that's it." Broly would stare seriously at the android. "It's okay, take them. I'll look for more elsewhere," Broly said, which one would walk. "Wait," I said 18. "Do you know another place of these fruits?" "That's right, but I won't tell you since you take things without permission." 18 would insist, since those fruits were his favorites. "Damn it," Broly said. "Okay, but don't talk too much. I don't like people who talk," the Saiyan exclaimed. 18 would be happy, since he didn't like to talk either. This would make them both understand each other and form a bond. Both would go to look for more plants with those fruits. That same day, hours later, we can see Abysswist reaching planet Earth. The destructive god brought that potion of the angels to revive the dead. I hope Whis doesn't find out about this. It's almost impossible, since on his holidays he isolates himself from everything. He also owes me many favors, by the way, to revive a dead. With this, I must first say a spell. How lucky that I wrote it down since I forgot it. This was how Whis would begin to look for the dead body of that ancient god. Finally, the Saiyans will meet a subject who will put them in their place, since we destructive gods have to measure ourselves on many occasions. This subject will not measure and will give them a good beating, so they will stop being so proud, the destructive god thought, while continue looking for the tomb of that god. Suddenly, Whis would be surprised to see number 18 and Broly walking together. That android was not married to that Krellin? What does he do with that subject walking alone? Asked the destructive god. Anyway, it's not my business. I think the tomb of that god was nearby. For his part, Broly would look up. What happened? 18 asked. I thought I saw a guy flying. It doesn't matter. Keep looking for the fruit plant. You promised it was around here, 18 said. I was sure it was around here, Broly said. Both continued walking. For his part, we can see the mysterious masked again, which seemed to be creating a huge field of energy. The power that began to emanate that subject was huge. I finally found you, Piccolo said, which was in front of that warrior. The masked being would turn around and see that behind him was also Krillin and Yamcha. The Z warriors were surrounding the masked subject. The being would expel a slight expansive wave that would make everyone turn around. He smiled. Do you think you were powerful for using those tricks? Piccolo said, which would get angry. Hey Piccolo, don't underestimate him. His power seems huge. I don't underestimate him, only that apparently he was causing damage and we can't allow that. He only destroyed a few streets, but he didn't attack anyone and they weren't hurt either. Maybe you were the first wounded, the masked subject said. What did you say? Piccolo said. All the Z warriors would get serious. What I imagined, Yamcha said, this subject was looking for problems. Perfect. He hadn't fought seriously in a long time. I thought more powerful subjects would come to have more fun, the masked subject said. Piccolo, Yamcha, and Krillin would get furious at the words of that being. Don't get involved. This subject was mine. Piccolo said that he would launch against the masked subject, which would dodge him at great speed. Krillin and Yamcha would be surprised to see the speed of that being. This at great speed would hit Piccolo, causing the Namekusei to fall abruptly. This was how Krillin and Yamcha would launch against the mysterious masked one, which would defeat both warriors in a single attack. The identity of that powerful subject was still unknown. Meanwhile, in the Room of Time, we can hear Goku screaming. I didn't think Grand Priest would betray me that way. Although thinking about it, maybe this was part of the training, Goku said, which would begin to realize that in order to train with Grand Priest, he had to pass this hard test. Of course, that must be how I could be so blind, the Saiyan exclaimed. Anyway, this seems impossible. The power of the seal of the Great Priest was impossible to break. Although I would like to just stop to make a transformation, I can't. This weighs too much, I said to Goku, who was trying to get up with all his strength. It was as if on the other side, several hours would pass so that in the room, days and days would pass. Being sealed without being able to move was a torture for the Saiyan. The power created by Grand Priest would be uncommon for Goku. The days continued there. After a few weeks, Goku was very hungry. The Saiyan would observe the refrigerator of the Room of Time. Not being able to reach with his raised finger, he would throw a power which would impact that refrigerator, causing the food to fly through the air. It whizzed as well as some would fall close. Goku, releasing his tongue, would reach to eat several foods. Perfect. This will give me a few more days of energy, I said Goku. It whizzed as well as the Saiyan with small powers would attract the foods, which would save him several more weeks in there. For its part in the Temple of Zeno-sama, you could see Grand Priest arriving. Well, Whis has his holidays. I hope the angels are not asking too much. Do not worry, Zeno-sama. Whis is one of the most responsible angels. I think he even works in hours that he has free. Perfect, Zeno-sama said. Then he has deserved his holidays. Zeno-sama exclaimed which one was playing. By the way, Grand Priest, where have you gotten? Zeno asked. I was visiting the planet Earth. There I met Whis to confirm his holidays. I also met the Saiyan Son Goku. I was surprised to find out that there was a Room of Time. Zeno-sama would also be surprised. The planet Earth seems to have been underestimated. Many interesting things happen in those places. That's right, sir. Even that Son Goku dared to ask me for a training. Son Goku seems to me an honest guy. It was fun the times he came here. I also noticed it. That's why I did not deny myself. I gave him a training in the Room of Time to see if I could pass the first test, and if I managed to escape from it, I could receive a training of mine. Zeno-sama would be surprised. Did you seal him? That test was impossible. Not even the destructive gods could pass it. Grand Priest laughed. I don't know, sir. Even seal the door with the same power. Goku is a very occurring subject. This time you have passed. Zeno-sama said it will be impossible for him to get out of there. Besides that in the Room of Time, he will not be able to receive help. That's how Grand Priest and Zeno-sama continue talking about planet Earth. On the other side, we can see Broly number 18, which seemed to have found those fruit plants. 18 would be surprised. I can't believe that a giant plant of these delicious fruits was found here. Both would collect all the ones that were there and would take several bags. I don't know how I can thank you. I said 18. Broly would be thinking. It would not be usual in him, but he would invite 18 to his home. 18 would be surprised. Well, I don't know. I'm committed to Krillin, I said, doubting the android. Make a great soup with all these fruits and vegetables. Several people of the town have fascinated them. 18 would accentuate. He would notice Broly very sincere in his words. It's okay, but you better get that soup right. If I don't, I get very angry. Broly laughing would accentuate. That's how both would go to the cabin of that Saiyan. For his part, we can see that Krillin would not be aware at all that his committed 18 was with Broly. Krillin was very sore since he had remained unconscious after fighting the masked subject. Krillin, when he arrived at his house, would be surprised to see that the android 18 was not found. Where'd he have gotten? Krillin said. Maybe he went to visit Bulma or Chi-Chi. Who knows? I'm very sore. I better go to sleep. That masked subject has a surprising power. That same night, we see that Beerus would be exclaiming the spell which would allow him to revive that old god. Beerus, the destructive god, would spread that potion on the tomb of the being. The tomb of that old god seemed to be causing a slight wind. Vilis would not notice. The destructive god exclaimed the spell several more times. Demons, maybe the spell does not work. Or maybe I'm exclaiming it wrong, the destructive god thought, which seemed that nothing would happen. Suddenly, Vilis could feel a strange presence behind. It was that old god that had woken up. Vilis would be surprised by the enormous power he felt. Time without seeing you, that god said, which would be called Karmaru. Karmaru, was that you? Vilis asked. I don't remember that your level of fight was so high. It surprises me that you still do not know that the ancient gods increased their power in the other world. Vilis would be surprised and would begin to doubt. He would know that with his power he could cause damage in the universe. This seems to have gotten out of my hands, the destructive god thought. It's time to have some fun, Karmaru exclaimed. Vilis would rapidly return to his temple, since in case of a disaster the destructive god would not be in charge. The most safest way is that guy beat the Ayajins. That was my plan from the beginning. But it will be of no use to later destroy this universe completely, the destructive god thought. Maybe it was not a good idea to resurrect him. I better stay here until everything is over, Vilis thought. I hope Whis comes back soon. For its part, on that terrifying god was wandering the planet Earth. A terrifying power would begin to feel in every corner. On the other hand, in the Capsule Corporation, we see Vegeta, Bulma, and Little Trunks having lunch. Suddenly, it was heard that someone knocks on the door. Who the hell comes to bother at lunchtime? I asked annoying Vegeta. Little Trunks would look out the window. It's Mr. Piccolo, Trunks said. Vegeta would be surprised. How strange. Piccolo never comes to visit here. It must be something very serious if he came here, Vegeta said. Tell him to come in, screamin' Bulma. I'll make him a plate of food right now. Trunks would open Piccolo. Come in, Mr. Piccolo, you must be hungry. It whiz not necessary, that bandit, Piccolo said. Remember that my race do not used to eat, we mostly drink water. Something serious had to happen for you to come here, Vegeta said. You guessed it, Piccolo said.
I hope it's something interesting, Vegeta said. This was how Bulma and Little Trunks would be eating, while Vegeta and Piccolo would go to talk to the priest. I notice you quite exhausted. What the hell happened to you? The prince asked. As you can see, I still have trouble breathing. I can barely speak. I won't go around much. This we's a guy out there with amazing power. He calls himself the Mysterious Masked. He wears a strange mask. He finished us in just a few seconds. Vegeta would observe seriously. Any subject with considerable power would finish you in just a few seconds. Piccolo would get furious. Okay, it's not for you to get like that. Tell me more about that guy. We don't have much more data. He's dressed in black, wears a mask, and has amazing skills. I don't know what his plans are, but he seems to be provoking all the powerful subjects in this world. This was how the Namekusen would tell him where the masked subject was. There you will find him flying. He seems to be meditating and expelling an enormous power. This was nothing more to say. Leave it to me, Vegeta said, excited. The prince would fly at full speed. In a while, it would be heard in the Capsule Corporation. The one who knocked on the door again was Piccolo, who would accept the plate of food. Bulma and Trunks would celebrate. Again in the Room of Time, we see that Goku, after several techniques, would have managed to move. Having been able to take 2 steps, this would have been achieved by meditating for 3 months that had passed in that Room of Time. Goku would not know that being able to move with the power of the Isenkan was something that no one had ever achieved. The Saiyan would be surprised and would begin to laugh at such a feat. Even so, the effort he had to make was very exhausting, so he would fall to the ground again in minutes. He would realize so that with meditation and awakening his mental power, he began to master that power that sealed him. If he only had to eat daily, he would regret Goku. Goku would fall unconscious for several hours. Suddenly, when he woke up, he could see that a kind of portal began to open. This was because the power of Grand Priest was so great that it caused cracks in that dimension. Goku would be surprised to see that a portal was opening. Now I understand. This power of the Great Priest was causing anomalies, just as it happened with the power of Majin Buu when he was locked up here. Goku would see that portal fixedly,
But he would notice something strange. That portal did not connect with planet Earth, but with another, different dimension. The Saiyan would begin to see that a figure of a woman was approaching the portal. That figure seemed to be watching him. On the other hand, we can see Gohan arriving at his home somewhat painful. Chi-Chi would be surprised to see Gohan like this. "It was nothing," Gohan said. "I will go to rest." When Gohan arrived at his room, you could see that he was that mysterious masked man. Gohan would hide the mask in his room. "A long time I did not feel so alive. This of being the mysterious masked was a good way to go unnoticed, train and face everything without any limit." This was how Gohan would have been that mysterious masked man to fight again with all his strength and be able to know how far his current abilities were. The next day, Krillin would knock on the door. "I hope Krillin has not realized that I am the masked subject," Gohan thought. "Hello, Gohan. I finally meet you," Krillin said. "This was a subject with a surprising power. We do not know what his intentions are, but we are looking for him to beat him back." "I didn't know," Gohan said. "I was studying a lot for the final exams. It seems interesting." "That's right. Piccolo already warned Vegeta, so they are looking for him to give him his deserved." "I thought that Vegeta was not on Earth," Gohan thought. "By the way, you know something about Goku? I'm also looking for him to warn him about that subject. The last thing I know is that he was training in the Room of Time." "Well, I hope he gets out of there soon," Krillin said. Gohan would say, "We'll come to look for 18. I did not see her 2 days ago," Krillin said, which said goodbye to Gohan. For his part, Gohan would be wondering if he continued to be the Masked Man, since Vegeta would not be an easy rival to beat. Neither would Gohan say, which would put on his suit and would be the mysterious Masked Man for one more night. The Saiyan would fly at full speed. On the other hand, we see Vegeta, who was looking for the mysterious Masked Man. "I hope I do not get disillusioned," the prince said. "From what Piccolo said, this subject seems to have considerable power. If so, I will be delighted to give him a good beating." "Supposedly, this guy would be on these sides," Vegeta said while watching. The Saiyan would suddenly feel a strange ki, a power that seemed terrifying. "Who the hell was that subject?" Vegeta asked. That ki that the prince felt was the ancient god Karmaru that had awakened Beerus. "I can feel that subject was a few kilometers from here." The prince would take flight, but suddenly he would see that the mysterious masked man was watching him. "I see," Vegeta said. "You must be the mysterious subject that Piccolo told me about." "I hope Vegeta does not know what I am," Gohan said. "I must give my maximum effort. If I get distracted, I could receive many blows." "Why do you hide behind a mask? Do you feel ashamed of who you are?" Vegeta said. Gohan would not know what to say for Vegeta's sayings. "What happens is that I am not interested that they know who I am. It does not bother me to hide behind a mask. I take it as a game." Vegeta would observe seriously. His way of speaking makes me known. "Who the hell was this subject?" the prince thought. "I thought that monstrous ki was you, but I see that it was not you." Gohan would be surprised. "Monstrous ki?" he would wonder. Suddenly, Gohan would also feel that terrifying ki. "I don't care. Once I'm done with you, I'll go for that other subject," Gohan exclaimed. "What an ingrate subject! I will take that mask out at once." This was how Vegeta would large his ki and launch against that masked subject. Gohan would try to avoid it, but the prince's attacks were very fast. He would know that it would not be easy to beat like the previous Z warriors. On the other hand, we can see 18 and Broly having lunch. "After all, you cook quite well," the android said, which we try Broly's broth. The Saiyan would thank him. "Sometimes I think that this broth was the secret of my infinite strength. With 17, we also have unlimited energy, since in part we are androids. Interesting. Once they have told me that I have unlimited ki and my strength had no limits. After all, we are not so different." This was how a kind of relationship would have formed between both of them. They would be about to hug each other when suddenly they see a great light outside. "What the hell was that light?"
Broly said, looking out the window, a great power would be forming. "Run," 18 shouted. Both would run away from home, the power would impact and fully destroy everything. It was the god Haramaru. Broly would get furious. Both would launch against the god, but this at a great speed would dodge them and defeat them instantly. The attack of that god had been so fast that Broly would not have managed to transform. 18 and Broly would be defeated and unconscious. I thought that there was that Vegeta that Beerus was talking about. That subject Whis, not Vegeta. Even so, I could notice that that subject had a considerable power, which was supposed to be done by these subjects on this planet. The ancient god continued looking for the Prince Saiyan again in the room of time. Goku would begin to see the face of that woman approaching the portal. She seemed to be a kind of goddess. Goku would fall in love with that presence. That goddess smiled when she saw Saiyan. The goddess had a scale similar to that of the angels. "Who are you and how did you get here?" Goku asked confused. "I do not know how you have done it," the goddess said, "but you managed to open a portal to our dimension. Tell me, what kind of power you used?" Goku laughed. "Doesn't he see that I'm sealed, I can't move? This power was not mine. It belongs to a very powerful subject of this plane. His name was Grand Priest." The goddess would be surprised. "I do not know him since I belong to the other dimension. I can see that he was a very powerful spell," the goddess exclaimed, observing that sign. Goku asked him who she was in that dimension. "In that dimension, everyone knows me. There he creates the spheres of the dragon." Goku would be surprised. The spheres of the dragon are also present in this dimension. They were created by a subject named Zarama. "Interesting," the goddess said. "I did not think that there were other spheres of the dragon in other dimensions. This was very valuable information. This portal will allow me to learn many new things about the different dimensions." Goku would come up with a brilliant idea. Being the creator of the spheres of the dragon of that dimension, I suppose he can grant wishes or something like that. Goku said, "I see that you are very cunning. You know perfectly how the spheres of the dragon work. I have known them since I was little. I used them many times. I see that it was not forbidden to use them here. It was seen that there are more freedoms in this plane." The goddess would be thinking, "Well, I will grant you a wish only because now I can have more information about this dimension. By the way, where we are supposed to be." Goku would tell him everything about the room of time, leaving the goddess surprised. They would be talking for several hours and exchanging information. "You have convinced me," the goddess said. "Before leaving, you can ask me for a wish. Think about it very well. There should only be one." Goku would be thinking, "If I ask him to free me from this seal, there would still be the seal of the door, and I only have one wish, so it would not serve. It was also supposed that this seal must be overcome by myself. That was the challenge of Grand Priest, so it should be another wish." Goku thought, "Well, what was your wish?" The portal was closing. "I will order unlimited food, and that my stomach was always satisfied with food in this room." Wow, it was the first time they asked me for that wish, but I understand the reasons. That was a very easy wish to fulfill, the goddess said, which would fulfill the desire for the Saiyan. This was how Goku would suddenly recover all his energies, making the Saiyan now able to stand up. "It has been a pleasure, Son Goku," the goddess said, which would leave that portal and return to its dimension. The portal would close definitively. "Every time I feel that I can master this seal," Goku said, which now satisfied with food and energy, could now go through the room of time. On the other hand, we can see that Karmaru continued to travel the planet Earth looking for the Prince Saiyan. Suddenly a voice would begin to hear. It was about Bills, which would speak to him from the temple of the destructive god. Bills would try to convince the ancient god not to overdo it, since if something happens then the problem will be his to revive him, and that would go against the order established by Zeno-sama. "Do not bother. Do you think that by reviving me, you will give me orders? Forget it," Karmaru said. "Then I will destroy all the subjects from here. I will go for the destructive gods." Bills would be surprised. Demons would warn the other destructive gods, but they cannot know that I used the angel's potion to revive this subject. This was how now the destructive god would stand by the side of the Saiyans. If they do not manage to stop it, this will be out of control. Soon the destructive gods will feel the true power of a god, Karmaru exclaimed, which continued to raise his power even more. On the other hand, we can see that Broly and 18 wake up. What the hell was that attack? I said 18. The last thing I remember was to see a great light and a subject who threw it. I could see the face of that subject. I could not recognize it. I said 18, which would try to walk but would fall. Broly would lift it. The Saiyan could not walk easily either. Both would walk slowly through the long forest. Broly's home had been completely destroyed. I swear I will destroy it, the Saiyan said, while hitting the floor with his fist. 18 would be thinking, well, I did not lose anything, but there were the fruits that I had collected throughout the day. I suppose that was also valuable. The worst thing was that I don't have the strength not even to fly. That power that impacted us was too powerful. I will not be able to take revenge on that subject, the Saiyan said, annoying. This was how Android 18 and Broly continued walking and talking about who could be that being. On the other hand, we can see that the fight between Vegeta and the masked Gohan continued. Vegeta would be surprised by the movements of the masked subject. Your movements remind me of someone, the prince said, but I'm not sure who you really are. I have told you that my identity was secret. No one should know it. There would appear Piccolo and Master Ross and those who were observing the fight. I hope no one interferes in the fight, the masked one said. This is a matter between us, Piccolo accented. Beware, we have codes to fight. If they decide so, we will not intervene. Vegeta would be confused and would stare fixedly and would be surprised. Are you cockroach? The prince asked. Everyone would be surprised. I do not know who that subject was. Gohan said, better stop talking and fight at once. Vegeta would be enraged by the words of the masked one. What have you said? The prince exclaimed, which launched again, unleashing a great battle between both. This time Vegeta's fists would impact with more speed and strength. Piccolo would be surprised by the screams of that subject. I think it will start to please me. It will be a great battle, he exclaimed. The Namekusei, on the other hand, Master Rossi smiled since he would have realized that that subject was Gohan. Gohan at great speed would appear behind the prince, leaving him surprised. Careful, Vegeta, behind you, Piccolo shouted. This was how Gohan would kick Vegeta, making him fall abruptly. Piccolo would be surprised.
Vegeta would spit blood for that hard blow and would get up again, leaving Gohan surprised. On the other hand, we can see Goku, which, although he still had the seal, would have managed to walk to the bed that would allow the Saiyan to sleep for several days. The Saiyan would no longer suffer from hunger due to the desire of that goddess. Goku would gradually overcome the test of the great priest. Goku would sleep for 3 months in a row. When he woke up, he thought that everything had been a dream. After spending so much time there, he would not distinguish the reality of dreams. When he saw his hands, he would immediately realize that he was still sealed and all the memories were the reality. Demons, Goku said, I do not know how much more I could bear all this. At least I no longer suffer from hunger for that desire. Goku would approach the door. He would try to open it, but it would be impossible. He had almost twice the seal he had in his hands. This was my opportunity to free myself. If I do not manage to remove the seal soon, I will go crazy in here. This was how Goku would decide to start training. For his part, in the temple of Zeno-sama, we can see the deities talking. Tell me, Grand Priest, what was Goku doing? How is he doing with training? I do not know, sir. Remember that the room of time belongs to another dimension. I do not have access to observe there. Goku must be desperate. Surely several months passed in there. Grand Priest would be surprised. He completely forgets, sir. I did not remember that one day on Earth, it was a year in the room of time. By the way, Grand Priest, now that I see on the Earth, I can see that ancient god. Karmaru was called, if I remember correctly. That was impossible, Mr. Zeno-sama. Karmaru died thousands of years ago. Because observe it with your own eyes, Grand Priest, Zeno-sama said. Grand Priest would observe and be shocked to see him. That cannot be possible. The dragon spheres cannot revive a subject who has died so long ago. Zeno-sama would be upset to see that many events were happening on Earth that could break the balance of the universe.
For his part, we can see that Krillin would already have seemed suspicious that 18 has not yet returned. He would not know if he was angry or worried about his beloved 18. Now that I remember, he had run out of that fruit that he likes so much. It was most likely that he has traveled that long forest, but it cannot take more than a couple of hours, Krillin thought, which would fly at great speed looking for his partner. This was how Krillin would notice the key of a Saiyan nearby. He would be surprised to see that 18 was next to him, which Broly was holding so that he would have strength not to. Krillin would get furious when he saw him together expelling all his ki. Broly would alert when he saw him. It was Krillin. I said, 18, what the hell are you doing with that subject? I said, Krillin. I can explain it, I said, 18. Who is this hairy dwarf? I said, Broly. Do not annoy, or I will powder him with a single attack. Do not do anything. He was my husband, Krillin. I did not know that you were married, I said, Broly. For his part, Krillin continued furious and would launch against Broly. Krillin would try to hit him, but his blows would not do any damage to Broly. Even so, Krillin continued to hit Broly, who was watching him seriously. Broly would give Krillin a slap and make him fly several meters. 18 would intercede, asking him to stop fighting. Krillin would spit for that hard blow. You think that with that attack you can defeat me? Just get out of my way, I said, Broly. The couple's discussions that you have was not my business. Krillin would get more angry and would launch against Broly again, but number 18 with a fast attack would hit Krillin's neck and leave him unconscious. The android would carry Krillin in her arms to the home of both. Later, when Krillin woke up, he would scold 18 and ask him for explanations. We only became friends, the android said. I also noticed that he was an honest person. Krillin would remain silent watching 18. I do not want to continue arguing if I do not get more angry, Krillin said. If I wanted, I could have destroyed him in a few moments. You still do not know me angry, I exclaimed, the hair of Universe 7. On the other hand, we can see that Vegeta seemed to be receiving several blows from the mysterious masked man. I will remove that stupid mask and I will destroy your face, so you will have a reason to use it, Vegeta said, furious. This was how the prince would transform into his blue god phase, leaving everyone surprised. Vegeta would launch a blast of ki from here, which would hit Gohan completely. Gohan would be surprised. Vegeta's power and god phase seemed to be too much. Gohan would create a huge expansive wave which would expel the powers of the prince. Do you think that's all? Vegeta said, which would launch the bursts of ki again. This time, Gohan's expansive wave would not bear and the powers of the prince would hit him again. Gohan would fall abruptly. Vegeta would approach and take him by the neck. Now I will know your true identity, damned garbage, Vegeta said, which would try to remove the mask from him. Gohan would quickly load his ki, giving a strong blow to the prince in the stomach, which would fall. Vegeta would get up again. Gohan could not believe it. All my ki was in that blow, Gohan said. How could he get up as if nothing, he would wonder. This was how Vegeta would return the blow. In turn, Gohan would also try to hit him, making both of them impact the fists, generating a strong expansive wave, making them both fly through the air. The movements of that masked subject, I think I have seen them before, Piccolo said. Have you not realized yet? Master Rossi said. What do you mean, old man? The masked subject was Gohan. Piccolo would be surprised. How I had not realized, he exclaimed, the Namekusen. I knew he knew that way of fighting. Now I understand everything. For his part, we can see in the Room of Time Goku training. It would have been 7 months more there. Goku could now fully master the seal and could move with great ease. Goku would notice that by mastering the seal of Grand Priest more, he would increase his strength even more because he seemed to be absorbing that power. Since he began to master this, I can feel a very large emanation of energy. This is surprising, Goku said. I never saw anything like it. This was how Goku continued training. His movements and speed seemed to be exceeding all his limits. On the other hand, we can see Dendi worried since he still did not find a way to open the door. This power that Grand Priest implemented make it impossible for this to open. We could join the dragon's fears and ask him to break that seal, Mr. Popo said. I already tried, Dendi said, but it was impossible to fulfill that desire since the power of Grand Priest was above the spheres here. There was only to wait to see what happens again in the battle between Vegeta and Gohan. We can see that both would get up after that impact that had generated an explosion. Gohan would know that he could not resist Vegeta much longer in that state. Maybe I should go and then train more to be able to face him. It will be impossible for me to defeat him in a blue god state, Gohan thought, which would have thought to flee from there. It was enough for today, Gohan said. Vegeta would be surprised that you have said, the prince asked. Not even think that I will let you go. For me, this is just a training, Gohan said. No training, I will defeat you right now, Vegeta said.
Who would load his ki. Again, Gohan would have no choice but to continue fighting. Suddenly, a power would pass at high speed, impacting Gohan's face, causing it to fall abruptly, and his mask would be completely destroyed. Everyone would be surprised. Vegeta could not believe when he saw that it was Gohan. With what you were your mucus, the prince said, having known that he would have hit you even more. Vegeta, Piccolo, and Master Rose would see everywhere. They would not know where that power had come from. I'm sorry, I wanted to fight seriously after so many years, Gohan said. I had to hide my identity so that the fight would be taken seriously. Who the hell was the one who threw that power? Vegeta asked. Suddenly, everyone would be surprised to feel the immense power which was the ancient god Karmaru. Vegeta would not be stunned by the words when he felt the immense power of the god who was watching them all. I thought that the power had been from Vegeta. Who was that subject? Gohan asked, which could barely move. He knew that there was a powerful subject approaching, but I did not say anything since the fight was very entertaining, Master Rosie said. Piccolo would be surprised. He has a monstrous ki. That subject could kill us in just a few seconds, Namekusei said. Karmaru would observe seriously. For his part, in the temple of Zeno, Sir, the ancient god seems to be going to fight. This was Grand Priest? This was very fun. What I do not know was how he was alive. I am not very sure, but maybe the gods are involved with his resurrection. Investigate what happened. This was how Grand Priest would communicate with Beerus. Something happened, Great Priest, Beerus asked. Grand Priest would consult Beerus about that ancient god who seemed to have revived in Universe 7. Beerus would not know what to say. This was Grand Priest. Apparently he was alive. I do not know the reasons. I will investigate that matter in depth, the Destroyer God said, trying to persuade Grand Priest. I hope so, the Great Priest said, which would cut off communication with the Destroyer God. Beerus would look through the binoculars and would be surprised to see that the ancient god was fighting with the Saiyans. At least at last the Saiyans will receive their deserved demons anyway. Now I must find an excuse to justify why he revived. I must fill this jar with any liquid so that the angels do not see that it was used, Beerus said. The Destroyer God would not worry for the moment and continued watching the battle of that god through the binoculars. For his part, in the Room of Time, we see that after a hard training, Goku would completely break the seal. The Saiyan would fall abruptly. After almost a year, he would feel his body released again. Goku would begin to laugh. He would have been the first to overcome one of the tests of Grand Priest. If this was the first phase of training, I do not want to imagine the others, Goku said, which was very exhausted. Goku would be thrown away and would sleep there for several days in a row, now enjoying his freedom. Later, Mr. Popo and Dende would be surprised to see that the seal would have disappeared from the door. Both would hesitate to enter. They did not want to interrupt Goku's training. Dende would open the door and see Goku lying down. He thought that the Saiyan was unconscious. The Namekusei would take him out of the Room of Time and try to wake him up. For his part again in the Temple of Beerus, we can see that a strong light would appear in the temple. It was Riwa's who would have returned from his holidays. Beerus would be surprised. Did your holidays not last more than a month? Beerus asked. In the place I went one day here and there are 3 years there, so it was enough time to vacation, the angel exclaimed. Damn it, Beerus thought. Whis can find out everything. Just as the destructive god would have imagined, the angel would not take long to find out everything that happened and would immediately realize that that jar to revive the dead would have been used. Whis would scold Beerus. The angel would warn Beerus that if Grand Priest or Zeno find out that I used the jar of the angels, they could destroy the entire universe. Beerus would regret it. Whis would once again cover Beerus. I promise that I will not touch your things again, Whis. It was that I was upset with Vegeta since I saw him very angry and he deserved a beating. It
It was as well as the destructive god, and the angel would be watching the battle on Earth. On the other hand, we can see the god Karmaru under the attentive gaze of the Z-Warriors. "I suppose you are Vegeta," the god said. "How do you know this guy?" Vegeta said. "Tell me what you are looking for here." "Hundreds of thousands of years ago, I lived on planet Earth when the human race did not yet exist. I had died and apparently they revived me." Vegeta would be surprised and remember the words of Beerus about reviving an ancient god. Beerus was right, Vegeta thought. I thought he was delirious. Gohan would be surprised to see Vegeta's face. "Tell me, Mr. Vegeta, what happened?" Vegeta would start laughing. "A long time ago he was waiting for a worthy fight." "Explain yourself, Vegeta," Piccolo said. "It turns out that Beerus had warned me that they would revive an ancient god so that they would give us a lesson to us all. Sometimes I think that the destructive gods want to exterminate us." "It was not about that," Vegeta said. "The important thing now is to show the destructive gods that the Saiyans cannot easily defeat us." "Well thought out, Mr. Vegeta," Gohan said, in which he still continued. For his part, Master Rossi would give a seed of the hermit to Gohan. Since I felt the power of this subject, I knew that I should bring seeds of the hermit. Gohan would thank, eat one, and recover all his energy. Kuramaru would observe and say, "Can't you feel the difference of powers?" Kuramaru exclaimed. "You have no chance of beating me." This is how the god would load his ki, leaving everyone surprised by the terrifying power. "It will be better to leave here," Piccolo said, which would lead to Master Rossi. For his part, Gohan and Vegeta would attack together with the god, unleashing a great battle in the heavens. Although they joined forces, the ancient god would stop all the attacks of the Saiyans. The sky would begin to darken. Meanwhile, Dende would try to wake up Goku, who was still asleep. "He seems to be asleep," Mr. Popo said. "The snores are heard." For his part, the fight between the god and the Saiyans continued. The god would kick Gohan, who would fall abruptly. This is how he would begin to hit Vegeta, who would lose his blue god phase in just a few moments. Vegeta would try to reach his blue god phase again, but he could not due to the burst of blows that Kuramaru was giving him. Gohan would get up and in a fast movement would take Kuramaru by the back, holding his arms. Vegeta would take advantage and throw himself against the ancient god, but before Vegeta hit Kuramaru, he would let go and that blow would hit Gohan, who would spit blood for that hard blow. "If you had held him harder, useless," Vegeta shouted, furious. Kuramaru at great speed would appear in front of the prince, taking him by the head and would begin to hit him in the stomach. Vegeta would get furious, would take out his maximum power and would transform into his blue god form, but with a slightly different look.
This was how Vegeta would throw him one of his best attacks, causing the god to fall abruptly against some mountains. Gohan would celebrate that attack. Suddenly, they would see that the god was beginning to rise and create a huge power which would be thrown at the Saiyans. Vegeta and Gohan would try to dodge that attack, but being extremely large, it would hit both of them before they could escape. Vegeta no longer had energy. If he returned to his base state, he had spent all his ki on that attack. This was how, with that energy ball, he would defeat the two Saiyans in that way. "It was hard for me to kill them," said the ancient god. Karmaru would suddenly see that the rocks were beginning to move. He would be surprised to see that Vegeta and Gohan were still alive. "Do not think that you will kill us so easily," said the prince, who had his whole body bleeding. For his part, Gohan could no longer get up. Karmaru would get furious. He was sure that with that attack, he had eliminated both Saiyans. The ancient god would recharge a power which seemed twice as great. Vegeta would be surprised to see the immense energy ball. Suddenly, Karmaru would be surprised. He would notice a great ki on the planet. Who is that subject? Karmaru would wonder. Vegeta would not understand why the god had stopped the energy ball. This was how Karmaru would leave the place at great speed, reaching where he felt that great ki which surpassed that of Vegeta and Gohan together. There he would see Dende and Goku, who were talking. The Saiyan would have already awakened. Dende would be scared. That subject was the one who was fighting with the Saiyans. Goku would be surprised to see him.
The Saiyan would not understand anything since he had just woken up from his long sleep. Goku seemed to have a green aura never seen before in the Saiyan. "I would like to fight with you," Goku said, "but I must train with Grand Priest. I passed the first test of the Great Priest." Karmaru would not understand Goku's sayings. Did Grand Priest say? Karmaru would be surprised to think that he was staring at the Saiyan. Meanwhile, in the temple of Zeno-sama, we can see Grand Priest surprised to see that Goku had managed to get out of the Room of Time. The High Priest could not believe it. Grand Priest would notice that Goku seemed to have absorbed the power of the seal, and his aura would emanate a slight green tone. Zeno-sama would be surprised at Goku's ability to absorb other people's powers. "Thank you, Dende, for waking me up. Here I will stay waiting for Grand Priest to return to continue training." Karmaru would bother Goku, since it seemed that he did not care about the fight. "Do you think you can run away easily?" Karmaru said. Goku would look at the old confused god. "I have already said that I cannot fight. The opportunity to train with Grand Priest himself only happens once." Karmaru would get furious and launch himself against Goku. The Saiyan at great speed would dodge it, leaving a green aura flash. Karmaru would not understand. How the hell did he dodge that attack? The old god would wonder. "Wow, I think I've been with Grand Priest's seal for so long, my aura seems to emanate a different color." The furious being would launch himself against Goku again, but the Saiyan would stop the attack with a field of energy coming out of his eyes. The expansive wave created by Goku would hit Karmaru abruptly, which would fall on Dende's temple. Dende and Mr. Popo would be surprised by Goku's new skills. On the other hand, Beerus would be surprised. He was humiliating Karmaru, and he was not even in Ultra Instinct form. The Destructor God said, "How is it possible?" Whis would not understand what was happening either. Both would be surprised. On the other hand, Vegeta would arrive at Dende's temple. It would have taken a long time to arrive since he was very hurt. He would be surprised to see that Goku seemed to be easily beating God. "Damn, Kakarot! What kind of training did you do in there?" the prince shouted. Goku would observe him. "Hello, Vegeta. So long without seeing you. Do you see something painful?" Goku said, greeting the prince. This was how Goku would be distracted when he saw Vegeta, and Karmaru would hit him hard on the face, making Goku fly several meters. Goku would touch his face. Wow, that blow did hurt. Karmaru could not believe that he had not hurt him. The old god would load his ki to the maximum and would try to attack Goku again, which would disappear at high speed. This was how Goku would appear suddenly in front of the god, giving him a hard kick that would make Karmaru fall down at high speed against the earth. Karmaru would be defeated and could no longer get up. Hours later, Whis would arrive on Earth, who with his staff would take Karmaru back to the world of the dead. For his part, Dende would heal Gohan, who was very hurt. Gohan would tell Dende the adventures he had being the mysterious masked. In this way, more than a month of events would have passed. Vegeta would consult Goku about whether he could also train with Grand Priest. "I could not tell you, Vegeta. I did not know more about Grand Priest. Maybe he doesn't even remember that he should train me." That same night, the Great Priest would communicate with Goku through the dream, where he would congratulate him for passing the test, and in this way he would promise him that they will train together. Well, this has been the movie. If you liked it, subscribe and activate the bell to see the next movies of the channel.